All right, you are now tuned in to the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmy Lee Velez. I'm here with Heck and Gabe. That's right, folks. The title is Renovation, episode 84. In this episode, the crew talks about their experience with everything renovation. We cover topics that range from home improvements, DIY projects, tool rental, hiring a general contractor, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Shannon Fritcher and Wally Lamb. All right, if you're new, don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. We like to kick things off with a definition from dictionary.com titled renovate: to restore to good condition, make new, or as if new again, repair. All right, so that's pretty straightforward. Yeah, so renovation, here we go. Avoid these top common remodeling mistakes by insurancequotes.org. Number 1, ignoring safety procedures. Yeah, that's a biggie, huh?
Well, yeah.
Number 2, using cheap materials. That's very interesting too. That's a good one.
That's when you learn on.
Yeah, that's when you learn on
material.
Cheap materials, cheap tools.
Tools? Oh, man.
I think is even worse. 3, blowing your budget. I think everyone does that.
Yes.
Number 4, going sledgehammer crazy. I think everyone does that. Number 5, inaccurate measurements. I think everyone does that. Number 6, avoiding contractors. That's understandably.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7, declining a home inspection. Number 8, not getting the right permits. Number 9, focusing on aesthetics only. That's very important. And number 10, not going green. The number 9 is very interesting. Focusing on aesthetics only, not functionality, or going the cheap way, because some stuff do look good, even at a lower price. So aesthetically, it's a very good looking, I don't know, let's just say sink, right?
Yeah.
And it's not a very
good quality,
high quality, thing. That's I think that's one that goes overlooked a lot.
Sure.
I always, when me and my wife were renovating our house, I said this all the time to Heck or whoever was like, we never went to the cheapest one, but we never really could even afford the best.
Sure.
At that time.
The mediocre.
So we always went into the medium. Like we always just got like the medium.
Yeah.
I was like, sorry, so we're not going too crazy.
Yeah.
Aesthetically, it's good enough for us. Obviously, ideally, we would like the highest quality stuff.
Of course,
but
absolutely.
It was our first house, first time for everything. But that's a very important one. Man, that is huge with the tools.
Oh, so huge.
You know how much time you waste with cheap tools?
So Saturday, I was my wife wanted me to cut up some pallets to make them the Christmas trees. So I'm using the quick and portable jigsaw, and it's battery operated. So I'm using it, and it starts working, and then I get to a certain point, and it just gives out. It's not strong enough for the product. I mean, for what I needed to do, it wasn't strong enough. It didn't hold up. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, now I got to bust out the saw, and I forgot that I had not a jigsaw, circular saw. That's what it was. And I had the power, like the plug-in circular saw. And I was like, dude, I'm going to bust this big thing out. I bust that thing out, and it went, and I cut the wood in 2 seconds. Yeah, like no problem at all. And I'm like, come on, man. I should have done this a long time ago. Like it's a complete joke to have those, like they're like little mini,
Rinky dinky.
Yeah, but I mean the tool, it's a decent tool name brand, but it just didn't. I guess just wasn't strong enough to cut through the allotted wood that I had to cut through. So yeah, tools are definitely a big factor. You don't want to get, what is it, like what our Uncle Ruben would say, Mickey Mouse?
Yeah.
Give me the Mickey Mouse hammer or the Mickey Mouse screwdriver.
This is like little kid stuff. You might as well be a toy. I did that too with a saw. It was the same thing. Actually, I was working on pallets, making a table, and it was literally the same thing. I had like this. I had a handsaw because I forgot to charge my the
Oh man.
the electric saw, or whatever. Actually, the battery operated saw. And which I have something to say about that too. So I'm sitting there literally hand sawing. It was only skids. I mean, it's very thin wood. And I did the job. So I did one half of the job, and then it was late. It got real dark. I couldn't see anyway. So I was like, I'll finish this tomorrow. Well, obviously I'm charging the battery the next day. Like, beep, beep, beep. I'm like going through everything. But by the end, I mean, it was probably like this thing wasn't even holding its charge. Oh. So then I was at that point done chopping all the little wood. Obviously it didn't take that long, but then I was chopping up an old table that we had out back that I wanted to trash basically, but I wanted to chop it down so it's easier for the guys to toss it
or bag it up, whatever it is.
Yeah, so I'm like using, and this thing is struggling. I mean, it's one of those things, and again the same thing, it's a really good brand, but again here it was a borrowed tool.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have one for myself, and I'm just in the back of my mind. I'm like, what a piece of junk this is. I charged it exactly how long it told me to charge it, and I'm telling you, for the first 5 minutes, that thing was phenomenal.
Yep.
I mean,
it gets to a point,
and then all of a sudden, it wasn't even cutting through. New blade. Now I will say this: I'm not a handyman. I don't know, a worldwide bit of home improvements, but I know enough. My dad was a handyman. I was around him my whole life. I know enough to know, how to use it, how to use certain tools or whatever. And I couldn't complain. I mean, it was a borrowed tool and it was what it was. But man, that thing, it was all juiced up in the beginning. And I'm telling you, within like 10 minutes, it was just like, it couldn't even cut through anything.
Yeah.
So again, that would have been, my dad would have been dying laughing. Us using battery-powered tools, he would have laughed his butt off. He was so against the battery. Because he always called these, like, they're junk. The only thing he used for batteries is drills. That's what he always say.
Okay.
Yeah, all the other, like, the heavy tools, you didn't buy battery operated.
Yeah.
Unless it's the newer stuff, which is now lithium ion, and obviously 20 volts of power, I think, or higher is what you want to get.
Right.
And that's where
like
you have
heavy-duty
power.
batteries and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's got
now
a lot of power to it.
The one I was using was an older, it was like when they first came out, kind of battery pack.
Old school, rechargeable batteries that like last obviously like 2 seconds and then
yeah, it's pretty much mine.
Yeah, but yeah, tools are. I mean, even like same thing. Like I remember helping someone out, with a weed whack job. It's just weed whacking, and they had a battery operated weed whacker, and it was the same thing. That thing lasted 15 minutes.
Dude. So that's another thing. That's a tool that you should not buy. My opinion. Nobody get mad at me, but that's something you should never buy. Electric. If you're gonna or battery operated. Yeah. If you're gonna buy electric, if you're gonna buy electric, at least plug it in.
Yeah.
And it'll work better than the battery operated. Because battery operated, I mean, and especially depends on how big your yard is. Like how much are you edging with the, or how much are you weed whacking?
This property was tiny.
Right.
Literally, it made sense, but it was
why?
still like, oh man. This was also an old one though too. It was like when they first came out.
Yeah, those things. To me, gas powered is the way to go when it comes to
those stuff,
lawn equipment.
Yeah,
absolutely.
My opinion. Stay with it.
But yeah, so anyway, the whole renovation thing with the tools, I mean, and the aesthetic things, those two things really, stuck with me. And inaccurate measurements, the only thing, obviously that's like a given, but the only thing I could say is like when fatigue starts settling in. And for us, when we're remodeling our house, obviously I had 2 jobs and would come after, like I would get here at 8 o'clock at night and I'd be here till like midnight, 1, 2 in the morning. Depending. Yeah. With that being said, it was like by the time midnight was rolling around, dude, it wasn't that I wanted to do inaccurate measurements.
Cutting corners for.
It wasn't because I was lazy, and it wasn't because I was dumb. I was just like the fatigue finally hit, and I was just like, dude, I was like missing my mark. I was off, and I wasted materials. So it's like, where's the balance here? Is it worth it staying up that late because you're getting work done? But what's the quality of the work that's getting done?
Then human error becomes a lot more of an issue.
Yes, and you don't want to be doing that. Playing with tools either.
Yeah.
No way.
Well, absolutely not.
Yeah, I know my wife's grandfather always said, measure twice, cut once.
Yeah, man.
So you want to go over your measurement more than that first
to
time. Just to double check.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then when you do a cut, it's just that one precise cut, and that's that.
Yeah. So have you guys ever done or been part of a home renovation?
No. I renovated my whole house. And I helped Jim out when he got this house. A few things here and there, a little bit. We renovated my bathroom, renovated the kitchen, living room. I know when I first bought my house, I had paneling all in my house.
Like wood paneling?
Wood paneling, dude, like from the 70s.
Oh, wow.
Literally, it was I think it was like 29 cents a panel. Dude, when I pulled one off, the sticker was still on it from Grossman. That was the name of the
Grossman,
that was the name of the name of the hardware store, Grossman.
Goodness gracious.
Yep. And it was there. It was on there, and we ripped them all out. Every room had paneling. Cut it out, ripped it out, and started going back, covering up the sheetrock with spackle and covering all that up, painting. Then we did the kitchen. The kitchen was basically needed new cabinets. Basically, the whole kitchen needed to be redone. The cabinets were all outdated. The color was boogie green. And dude, had you seen my house when it was like before?
I saw when it was mostly like I like the first floor mostly. I think when you first started coming over, I think the upstairs was still completely like not as done. Is for the most part. It wasn't really fully done, but because you were pretty much living downstairs I think at that point.
Yeah. So when you first came around, my kitchen wasn't done because our kitchen got done right where Nova was born.
Okay.
That's when we got the kitchen remodeled, which is 2014, and we moved in 2011.
Okay.
So it was 3 years later that we did that.
But at least the bedrooms and the living room and stuff was done.
The living rooms. So what we did was we ripped down the paneling and we just painted everything. So paint goes a long way as far as making it look good.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, that was.
Was there any there wasn't any wallpaper or anything like that? Or
no.
Right?
No, it was just straight wall. It was just drywall. So fortunately for us, we were able to just spackle it up and keep it moving. And then the kitchen was just hideous. It was like a boogie green with brown. And we just made it work until, we got the cabinets all done and stuff like that. And
the whole house is done at this point, right? Or no?
No. So we did the bathroom in 2015. Jim helped me.
The upstairs bathroom?
No, the downstairs bathroom.
Okay.
So the upstairs bathroom, there is no upstairs bathroom.
Okay.
That we're planning on getting done next year. Like the master bedroom with the bathroom and all that stuff. And then 2013 is when I got the upstairs bedroom done.
Okay.
Where it was we've made our own closet, remodeled that entire thing. So yes, we literally bought a fixer-upper and just worked on it little by little.
It's still work in progress.
It's still work in progress. So our next move is to finish up our 4th bedroom and a master bathroom in it, or a master bedroom with a bathroom in it.
Okay.
So you bought a fixer-upper.
Yes.
Yeah. So, not necessarily, because your house was actually, livable or whatever. It was more aesthetics.
Yeah.
So everything was functioning.
It was. We could have moved it in the way we got it, like that, but just being the way she is, she just wanted to rip everything out. And I literally got our house done in 3 days, so that we can move into it, because we had to be out of the apartment. I got carpet done, rooms painted, everything all done, just to get the house so that we can move in.
Yeah, you didn't do all those renovations in 3 days.
No.
Yeah.
Those were years. I'm saying, as far as getting the bedrooms, the 2 bedrooms downstairs and the living room done, I got that done in 3 days so that we can bring our furniture in and, get our foot in the door to get things situated. And then, little by little, we obviously fixed the bathroom. We went out and bought a sink. So not even a month into living in the house, we were planned on going out, and it was all of us going out or whatever. And Jess was in the bathroom. She was doing her hair. And so we had one of these floating sinks in the bathroom that literally, it's called a floating sink. It there's like just brackets to hold it up in the air,
Yeah.
which makes absolute no sense because you can lift them up and they just fall. So her not realizing that there was nothing underneath there, she put her tried to lift herself up on the sink and just straight fell to the floor.
What was she trying to do?
Hold herself up and look at herself, like do her hair or makeup or something in the mirror. And I'm like, what are you? All I hear is boom, boom, boom. And I run to the bathroom. I'm like, what are you doing? I see her like holding the sink in her hand. I'm like, why is the sink in your hand? And I literally had to pull it up. And that week, unfortunately, I had to go and buy a sink. That was one of the last things that I wanted to go buy. But we went out and bought a sink and replaced all this stuff in there. And
So was the floating sink you installed in there, or
no, that was the original one. Yeah, the
Okay.
bathroom was not supposed to be touched, but
at least not
being that
away.
right away, yeah, not right away, but being that
kinda-
she did what she did, we had to replace at least the sink, but we
Yeah.
left everything else the way it was for a while.
So kind of fast track replacing that part of it.
Yeah. There's so many things in renovating a house, so many stories. It's great.
Yeah, so we were kind of like on the same boat. Well, actually, our house, there were certain things before we could even move in we had to do. That wasn't even true. Dude, we put in like $2,500 into a house that we didn't even know was going to be ours. Because you have to, certain things, we bought a house that was sold as is, but it still has to pass inspection.
Oh yeah.
And there's all these contingencies for us buying the house because we're a first time home buyer. So we got like some crazy like interest rate because of that. So it was like, but you had to hit certain qualifications, or the house had to hit certain specs or whatever, something like that. And so long story short, we ended up dumping in $2,500 without even knowing everything was it was like literally like on a wish. But thankfully it went through. Like looking back at it now, I'm like, what in the world, dude?
Yeah.
Like we were just, man, I was looking for like 5 years.
Oh yeah.
Not in a rushed sense, but like if I was waiting for that deal to come across the table and it was just going to jump all over it. We had a lot of, requirements, so to speak, that we wanted to hit before we just jumped in. And then, as I got into a relationship with my wife, my now wife, it was kind of like that got even tighter. So when I was like, all right, well, because initially when I started looking, it was really to buy a house, do some level of like renovation to flip it. It wasn't really necessarily to like, this is the house I'm going to stay in for the next 10, 15, 20,
you were
30,
just trying
40
to flip,
years.
like buy a house, flip it right away.
Not necessarily. It would have been a house that I would lived in,
Short term.
build equity. Yeah, sure. It was more of like a 5-year plan, and then flip it in a sense to buy the house that me and my wife could live in. Not necessarily like I was in the business of flipping homes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was more of like an investment more than anything. It just never panned out for whatever reason. Anyway, so fast forward. So we got a good deal on this house, right? But we had to hit certain requirements. So we're already $2,500 in. This house was terrible. I mean, like terrible. We had to redo literally everything. We did both bathrooms. The kitchen, which was probably done in like the 80s or early 90s, wasn't that bad. Like the cabinets and the countertops and stuff like that. I mean, if you look at it, you're like, ugh. But it worked, and it worked enough. The flooring was just terrible, so we just kind of like redid tiles. Me and my brother Miguel did that. Then I got carpet throughout the entire house. Again, both bathrooms. We did some like stuff with all the windows, replaced all the windows. Just the house, it just wasn't maintained. That's all. That's really what it was, and it's sad. It just wasn't maintained because the house, structurally speaking, was good. There's just a few things here and there that we had to fix. And honest to God, it was really, even still now, there's still stuff that I can do. It's like, that's just maintenance. It has nothing to do with like a major investment in a house. It's little stuff. But man, the stories can go on for days, from electrical issues to just buying the wrong material. How many trips I made to Home Depot. I got to a point where I literally was like about to buy stock at Home Depot. I was like, dude, this is nuts. I recorded one time I was at Home Depot. I think it was like 8 times in one day.
Yeah, I was about to say, the best is counting how many times you can make it to Home Depot in one day.
Yeah.
Like legit, it's the best. Like wow, I should just live here and let someone else work in the house.
Exactly.
Dude,
Let's get a
legit.
job at Home Depot and get everything.
Well,
partially-
yeah, that's a sign of someone who knows nothing of what they're doing. You make 8 trips
Oh, yeah.
to Home Depot in one day.
I made 3 to Walmart yesterday.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm still figuring life out, so it's not like we're still making trips to places that we probably shouldn't do all that often. It was like, dude, did you not write a list down? Or there's like miscommunication. Like the guys, like I had my uncles helping me, and he was off on his measurement, so whatever tubing or whatever the hell I was buying, it was the wrong size by the time I got back. So then I go back, have to return that. Then I come back with something. We also need this. I'm going back. It was like that. Literally, I'm not kidding. Or everything I needed didn't fit on one trip. It's just all these little things that
You could even get it,
even
at
if
the
I
same
wanted
time.
to. Yeah, exactly.
It's so insane.
Yeah, it was just nuts.
And you had the pickup truck at that point too.
And I had a pickup truck. And think about that. That was like the one time you helped me get drywall and you just like dropped it.
Well,
This dude like let it fall. Like if it was like drywall, everyone knows is like super sensitive. If you
It's
can't,
delicate.
it's delicate enough where you can't just like drop it from about
No,
a
no.
3-foot drop just to
No,
like.
it was good.
All the
I'm
coolers
like,
were
all
all
right, put
banged
it.
up.
I'm like,
Put
yeah, put it down.
down.
He literally drops it. I'm like, that's not what I meant. Okay. So these
Where
were.
did you bought? It was at the store where he did this. Or,
Yes.
Oh,
So you put it back on there and get another one.
yeah.
So we put it. No, well, we put it. You could throw. There was like a pile next to it, of
Well,
like
yeah.
damaged ones where people were just kind of like skimming through. We just put it on whatever on top of that
man.
or whatever. But yeah, so it's like.
I'm not the best helper with that, apparently. Obviously.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, you know how many times my dad yelled at me when I was like a kid, like with stuff like that you just don't know.
Yeah,
I don't. You don't know any better. That's how you
Say
learn.
let it go and just
Yeah, let it go.
let
All
it
right.
drop.
I just let it go. Literally, just took my foot off. Oh, the other thing was it would be like, so if you're buying, for example, a sink or something like that that had to be installed at the time, you have to be, well, if depends on your relationship. In my relationship, I wanted to get like, my wife to obviously have a say in what we
Sure.
were getting. So I had to wait for her to then come home from work,
So you
and
go
then both of
together.
us pick it together,
Yeah.
and then they wouldn't have it, and then we had to order it. Or it was just, dude, it's just endless stuff that if you've never done it before, it's almost like you're better off not knowing.
Sure.
And I remember this one guy who was helping us with the electric work, and not the electric work, the plumbing work, and he would constantly tell me, he's like, dude, just focus on one room at a time. And I was just like an animal while somebody was downstairs working on the bathroom. The bathrooms are small. Only so many people can fit in there. You guys are hanging drywall? Okay, you don't need my help, obviously. There's already 2, maybe 3 people in there. I'm going to go upstairs and start sanding or, spackling or doing like. So we literally were doing the entire house all at the same time.
Yeah.
So it took us, because obviously we're limited time and limited manpower, and we technically didn't really hire anybody. We just the people that we did hire, we kept that to a minimum. But because everything we did was aesthetics, we didn't move any walls. We didn't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
We didn't change our electric. We didn't do nothing like that. We just replaced what basically was old or broken.
Just did a refresh.
Yeah. And, man, wow. 2 months later, it took us 2 months because, like I said, we didn't have manpower. And it was an undertaking that, at the time, after every big thing, like I said this when I graduated from Temple, I was like, man, I think I'm done with school, like you're just so beat down. It was at the time, I was like, dude, I don't know if I ever want to do that again. But not that I would ever like look forward to doing that again, but I can see myself being open to it. My approach would definitely be totally different.
Oh, sure.
Obviously, because you don't know. And at the time, my dad had passed away that beginning of that year. So normally he would have been here. The time it would have probably been done in half the time.
Sure.
And then obviously with his guidance. So now, what I know now, which still isn't much, but it would be definitely more improved than, when me and Kel were just like looking at each other like, well, I don't know. I guess that's what we should get, or I guess that's what we should do. And then you have like the thing of the inspectors coming, and then like your heart drops. You're like, oh man, are they out to get us?
Passes.
Yeah, that was like my
passes.
thing. It was like, oh man, I felt like everybody was gonna be like against us. Like not in like any
In
other
your
way.
favor, yeah.
Yeah,
Not
like I'm like, he's like, oh no, that you got to replace it, because that's how when we first got the house, that's how I felt like everything was. They were telling, yeah, no, that's not gonna pass. Nitpicking everything, from the roof to the floor, man. I mean, people were telling us that we have heated floors. This is how the house came. It has like a coil system underneath, so the oil runs through this coil system and heats up the floor, right? So that's just for a first floor heating. So the people were telling me, dude,
because there's no like radiators and stuff.
No
Like
baseboard or radiators, yeah.
So people were telling me all these horror stories of, oh, you need to replace them. That's so old at this point. All this other stuff, and I'm like, in the back of my mind, all I could think of is like, well, I'm at the point where like if it happens, it happens, but I'm not going to replace something without it being broken. Not at this point.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe
exactly.
me after living here for 10, 15 years, and you know, you can do stuff like that.
Yeah,
but like,
that's
dude,
right.
we just got done doing the entire house. I'm like, I got insurance. I mean, I even have like this platinum plan that if that does happen, they'll replace the whole coils. But in it, they don't replace like your tile or anything like that.
Or the
If they tear up
cement.
the floor, it's not. That's on you. But
Right.
they're actually, but the actual part needs replacing. They'll change all that. Whatever.
Yeah, so it'd be brand new.
Okay.
But you know, it is what it is. It's kind of one of those things. Everything was a learning experience, even to the point of like picking your oil, like your oil company, to getting, you know, it's just like all these things are like you're hit at once.
Service
And me and
providers
my
and
wife
all
went in on it, man. We got married all in the same year.
Yeah.
Bought our first home, got married all in the same year. So yeah, I mean, it was fun, but I feel like now that we did that, now we're going back. Now we can go back. We're 5 years in now, and now we're going back and doing, I guess, a little bit, pay more attention to each segregated room.
Sure.
And now that you lived in the space, we have more of a feel of the flow of how we operate within the space.
Yes, exactly.
And what makes more sense for us. Because when you first start moving in, you think you can do certain things, or you think this X, Y, and Z looks better or whatever.
Yeah.
The one thing that we did nail, and we put up an entire wall to hang, was our TV.
Oh, for the TV.
Because everyone who has this style house, their TV always looks awkward. Or just looks, something looks off. Or
It's
they
like
put it
there.
Yeah, it's just there. Or it's like on a wall that's just not comfortable.
Okay.
So we ended up building a wall and then
seen
putting up a hanging TV right at our staircase or whatever. That was like one of like those bigger things that we did that made most sense, and it still to this day makes sense. Like I would do the same thing.
Yeah,
that was one of many things that I still would have made that same decision.
Yeah, that was definitely the coolest thing that you did, was like to put that wall there, just because it was no wall. There was what, staircase going up behind that,
It's
right?
just a staircase.
It was just exposed staircase, right?
Yeah, and they framed it all out. They measured it and did whatever. What was it? Double structured, like where the TV was gonna go, so it wouldn't fall over on the drywall. Like it was actually thought out very, very well. And then, you know, they put the plugs in where they had to be, and it's seamless. Like the whole job came out seamless on that with the TV.
Yeah, I mean, no wires, you don't see any. It's like, it's very cool. I mean, we're talking 5 years ago. I'm sure they do like 10 times better jobs now, but for the time, it was cool. But yeah, I mean, so now we're going back, and I think we could have like a more of a detailed thing instead of like. So when it talks about like buying cheaper materials, we weren't buying cheaper materials in a sense where we bought like stuff that we knew was going to break, but we went on the side of what I was kind of saying, like in the middle. But like now, if we're going to replace it, we're going to buy the best stuff.
Oh, sure.
You know what I'm saying? Because you have to do like, we had to get a foundation. We have to start from somewhere. Right. You know what I mean? Like the toilet that was here, we're not going to use. That thing was like from the 70s or something. So we had to replace that. And then, we might not have gotten like the highest quality one, but when it's time to replace that one, we're going to go and replace it with like whatever's the best out there. But you can do it now because now you're doing a renovation in bite size.
Sure.
Whereas before we were trying to eat the whole thing.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, now you can do like what that one guy was telling you, one room at a time.
Yes. Now I can do one
now
room
you can do the one room at a time because you could focus more on that and get it started and finished all within a timely manner.
In a more quality
you're not,
way.
Yeah, in a quality way, and you're not rushing to do it either.
Right. Exactly.
Because you're living here and you could just, if you have to block off a room for, a week or two, you block off a room because you have the space to, sleep somewhere else or whatever the case may be, just to get the room done.
Exactly.
Which is good.
And I think that's where we're at. The other thing too was that like within like a year, or within that same year, not the same year as in 2012, but within that same year as in calendar year, we found out Kel was pregnant. So it was like one of those things. It was like, all right, so when we were on a roll, because I remember stopping and I'm like, all right, maybe we'll pick back up like in the summer or something. We just need a break. We needed to move in. And that was the end of that. It was like, we're moving in January. That's it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I worked from home at the time. I had my office was set up. We did that whole thing. Oh man, I was even thinking about that. How lucky I got with all this like furniture and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, then Kel's pregnant. I'm like, dang, there was a couple other things I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's not happening. Because then we're like, now she's nesting. We're saving up for whatever you don't know.
Yeah.
And then boom, there goes a year, and then you have a baby. Like, I am not doing this with an infant in the house now. And then
Exactly.
boom,
No.
here we are.
Yeah.
James is 3, right? And we did very minimal stuff. So, but this year we did stuff on the outside, just to kind of like freshen everything up, because we had like a lot of stuff that was just like pieces of all over the place. So now we kind of, all right. I love it being outside. So I'm like, I'm going to set up the outside how I want it for a very, minimal cost, but like just kind of set the whole thing up how, I want it. And so finally that's what we did this year. So now it's creeping into the inside of the house now, because I'm now like on a roll. You kind of felt like it was kind of like a change in times. I don't know what it was. It was like, I enjoyed being outside because everything was like, it was different. It had like that new vibe to it. I was like, yeah, you know what? I really like this. I'm nowhere near done, but I just did a couple things that, freshened it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And so now I'm on the same mode with inside now. And so now I'm like, oh,
Now you caught the bug for renovation.
Yeah. So now we have a couple things on our minds that we want to do. And same thing, Kel's pregnant again, right? But I'm still gonna try to do it before the baby. I'm not gonna try to do anything after, but I'm still gonna try to squeeze in a couple things, because I know how it was. It's not even that there's no time. It's almost like to make your situation worse by choice is just, I don't know. That's for somebody else. It's not for me.
Yeah.
That'd be by choice, by me trying to do home renovations with an infant in the house. You're making your situation worse. Like, it's already stressful enough in the house. There's a lot going on. It's a new person. It's a new, beautiful part of the family. But it's like, dude, we're drained emotionally, physically, literally.
All over, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how we were. I don't mean to cut you off, but that's how we were when we were doing the kitchen. So Jess was pregnant, and we wanted to get the kitchen done before Jess came home from the hospital with the baby. So literally, she's having the baby, and my father-in-law is finishing up the grout on the actual tile.
Man.
And then later on in that day, he comes up and sees the baby, but it was like literally to the wire, because we started like a couple weeks before we knew, because it was planned birth or whatever, like C-section, and so we knew when she was going in, when we were going in, so we kind of had like a date set to get this kitchen done. And by the time we came home, the kitchen was done. We had nothing, like we didn't have to worry about anything. Like, it was all painted, everything was all done, and then like he says, you don't want to do any of this if you don't want those chemicals in the house. While the baby, you have an infant. You know what I mean? Like
dust, or you sanding?
Yeah,
what a
and
mess.
it's open air. You don't want that for the baby, so you try to get that stuff done before that baby comes.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's levels of it to even just having my wife pregnant. Even like there's certain stuff that I don't, just chemicals and all that stuff that you don't want, exposed. So our projects are going to be very superficial, but I want to definitely squeeze them in, because I know it's going to be some time before I can do that again. I just know, because I went through it.
Yeah,
the first time I went for that push, I did what we could, and I really didn't have an excuse. We had just done so much to the house, so it wasn't like I was like, all right, fine, this is good. We have like the summer off, you know what I mean, and we enjoyed it. But I got the itch again. Here we are 5 years later, and I'm like, oh man, I got this itch. There's little things I see that bother me, so I'm like, no, I want to do this, I want to change it. And here I am, have the itch, and she's pregnant. And I'm like, all right,
You always get the itch at the inopportune time.
Yeah.
Well,
It seems.
Well, yeah. Well, no. I mean, for me, we planned it, so I mean, it was really like kind of. I think it's more of now. It's giving me the push to really
get it done.
because I think we just
enough.
kept talking about the ideas.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, but we never like went through because my thing is I'm a decision maker.
Yeah.
Kel is a ponderer, if that's a word. She just thinks about stuff and then like, but the execution, she needs someone to like, all right, let's
Kinda
do
push
it.
you
Let's
into
go
it.
today. But
Yeah.
she has great ideas. And for me, I just want to make it. I just want to do it.
Yeah.
Whatever you want. I don't. It's not that I don't care. It's just whatever you want. All right, let's do something about it. Because then here we are years later, and like nothing got done because a difference in opinion.
Yeah.
Or nothing gets done because, am I acting upon your ideas or is it both of our ideas? It just gets weird.
Yeah.
So now I'm just
everything can't be completely hypothetical all the time.
Yes. Right. So I'm the action taker. So she knows that though. Like we complement each other in that sense. But man, she has like an eye for stuff that I wouldn't. I would say like I have a combination of I have like some level of like style and a taste for things, but she can put things together, right? So I can buy this stuff, right? Let's just say like decor. I have like an eye for certain things like that. That's good. That looks good. I just wouldn't know necessarily how to place it or where to place it. We have like on our mantle, we have all the same things that are still there, but how she configured it, it just looks better than how I have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Her
when you
arrangement.
combine us, it's awesome.
Yeah.
But man, one or the other, and then or I make a rash decision because I'm just boom, boom, boom. I just want to make a decision that it's keeping moving. Because in my mind, I know if a decision doesn't get made or action taken, it's not going to happen. And in her mind, she knows she does think about stuff a lot and maybe think about it too much that nothing happens.
Okay.
So if I make sometimes my quick decisions though end up in oh crap. Maybe I should have took a little bit more time in making that decision. But I know you have to make them right. So then you just kind of keep going off that. So I think that's important when you are doing some level of renovation to bounce certain ideas, unless you know specifically what you want. You know what I mean? Between hiring a contractor, or at least somebody who knows what they're doing, it's good to bounce ideas. And another reason is they might come up with something you weren't even thinking about.
Yes, absolutely.
Or might not even work. There's a lot of stuff that we wanted to do. Our electric box couldn't even handle. Yeah. So if we would have went with that, then we would have had to replace our entire electric box. That's like a $5,000 addition to what we wanted to do.
Whole different mess there.
You know what I'm saying? So now you're limited.
Rewire all that stuff,
yeah. And if we didn't have that discussion with specific people, we would have made major mistakes.
Yeah.
Like a $5,000 mistake. Sure. It would have been. Maybe more.
Yeah.
And that's why it's good to, at least have a consultant or somebody to bounce idea. Okay, so what do you think about this? I'm planning on X, Y, and Z. The professionals are professionals for a reason.
Yes.
I do understand the money thing, and sometimes, you have to watch who you hire. Websites now, they have so many things with ratings and stuff. You can get through that mess. And a lot of people that's the old way of thinking, I think, in some sense, where there's so much competition now, prices actually went back down again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That they're all competing for each other. And I'm not saying that we're not jeopardizing quality.
Yeah.
The quality's still there. And you have hardworking people who will get the job done for a very reasonable price. Before, it was when it was that housing boom, right between whatever it was, 06 or whatever it was, 04 to 08, whatever that was, that
when everybody's like
4 years,
contractor masters, and then you're like,
everybody
arm and leg for everything.
Exactly. And they were just getting people left and right. And I think that is still in the back of some people's minds, people who survived that or went through that or saw, like I physically saw people go through it.
That. Yeah.
That was scary. So then you got on this weird thing where you didn't really trust contractors or generally speaking, unless you obviously knew the people or whatever. But and you just get into that. And then at the same time, it's like, well, I want to pay you what you're worth.
Yeah.
Like you have to make a living too. But I also don't want to get like, I also want to get the best deal. And I always say this all the time. Me and Heck always have this conversation. When I say I want to get the best deal, it doesn't necessarily mean the cheapest.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I'm saying the best deal is like pound for pound, quality and expense put together. That's to me the best deal. not just what's the cheapest one.
Exactly.
Because that might not be the best deal. Here it goes back into not compromising, the quality of materials.
Exactly.
Is there anything worse?
Because you can have the cheapest person, but then they cut corners everywhere and like do the worst job ever.
And 2 weeks later, you got a ceiling falling down, or you got a freaking wall falling off, or a window popped out. You sleeping, your window pops out. Come on, what?
Come on,
come on.
I mean, I've never seen any of those things happen, but I'm sure they've happened. Like,
well, sure, absolutely.
Like you get someone to just cop the corner, or like, when my mom and dad first bought their house, so there was the kitchen had this painting, not a painting, it was like a picture covering on. It was on the wall, like leaning against the wall. So they didn't bother. It was like, it was just, they thought it was just part of the decor. So when they finally get the house a day later, they walk in and my mom starts going through stuff and she moves this picture because she no longer wants it because the people left it behind. Well, come to find out, it was the vent for the stove. It was just a straight up circular hole.
So
and they just put a picture of a hole in the wall. Literally a hole in the wall. Yep. And my mom just put, not my mom, the people, the owners, put a picture up against the wall to cover up the hole. So my dad just started cracking up laughing. Like, what in the world? We didn't see this? Like, it was stuffed with newspaper. It was just crazy. Something just out of this world.
What, did they removed the vent and never bothered doing it again, or just?
I don't know what their intentions were. I think they just didn't cover it up with drywall like they should have. And he just left the hole there, stuffed it with newspaper and raggedy tails.
It was literally a picture covering it.
Yep.
And the last thing, it literally looked like it was, what do you call that? Like staged. So it looked like it was just, there's just a picture in the corner.
Yeah, but then when they left it, everything was all moved out and they left it.
They left the picture there.
So that's
so
why
you're moving stuff around.
Just like grab.
Oh my gosh!
Just a random behind hole in the wall.
Yeah.
It's great.
Classic. That was classic.
So awesome.
Yeah. So, like, speaking of which, I know you said you had your father-in-law, or whatever, help out. Do you guys, or if you ever been part of like, renovations, which I have, where you counted on friends or family?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like to do things, but I like the help of someone else because I suck at having ideas on having that open vision on trying to like, this tub, like me with the bathtub, this tub, there's no way I'm getting this bathtub out. There's no way. All right, fine. Me and Jim pulled the bathtub out. All right, so I'm like, so how in the heck are we getting the bathtub in? It took forever to get, but it was like things here and there. Like, so I don't have that open vision.
Yeah, okay.
I'm kind of like, almost like a downer. I was like, that's not happening. But then he comes in and he's like, dude, we just got to do this, and that, and pop it out. I mean, and with me, there's other things that I can come around and like give my input and my opinion on and make it work or whatever. But like, yeah, I like working with other people that have not a general idea, but a general idea. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to have experience on it.
Yeah.
Just have that general idea of
and also confidence.
Yes, and that's it, to the confidence level of it. Like, my confidence level of renovating, I get scared of doing or breaking something and making it worse.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest fear.
Yeah.
And then once I do it, gun ho, I'm going in and I'm not turning back, and I start doing it, and it's all done. Next thing you know,
doing it well.
Next thing you know, it's all done. But it's that first initial step to take that step into there, because I don't want to make the situation worse. I don't want to have to go out and buy more material or more products or whatever the case may be, just to fix something that I could have probably prevented. You know what I mean? So that's my biggest fear when I'm doing something. But yeah, I do like having someone to help out.
Yeah, and I remember even when we were talking about hanging my TV, we built the wall again. We had everything all measured up, and Heck being like scared to put the anchors in. And I'm like,
no, the hole in the wall.
Oh, the hole in the wall.
The hole in the wall.
Measured it 450 times.
I measured it. Yeah, this guy comes in.
Just did.
Would you get the drill and just drilled it or whatever it was?
Yeah.
What the hole for? Like the panel for the
for the rack
to put the rack on.
Oh, okay.
Because we had to put the butterfly clips in the back.
Okay,
so that we can screw on the actual the TV mount.
The mount, yeah.
The mount, yeah.
So it was. I walked in the house and he's like, "Oh, right here, yeah. You want it right here?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he marked it up, and I was like, I left, did something, I come back,
still,
and
exactly.
he's still just like staring at the wall. He's, yo, I just want to make sure, like, you want to rain? I'm like, heck, drill through it, just do it. I was like, I don't even care if it messes up, we mess up. You get to a point where you're just like,
you got to just jump into it.
well, this, you got to think, if we're hanging a TV, we're at the end of everything.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, we're done. I'm like, the last thing I mean, now I know how to patch up something and redo it. I'm like, plus, we make a hole, the TV's going to cover it. You know, I'm that confident. I'm like, let's just start drilling. Let's go. I grabbed the drill, started drilling the hole. Like, all right. And then he grabbed the drill. We just started going. And it hung up, and it's been hanging ever since.
Oh, okay.
I have the same old TV there.
It's been there ever since. So it's like, so it's like my initial to take that step. But once I take the step, I go for it.
Well, yeah, because then after that, bam, we just started knocking it out. And like I said, within whatever, half hour, the TV was on.
He was hung.
You know? But it is funny. So, like, having that, you know, same thing. Like, when me and my dad worked together, it was almost like I knew what he was doing without us even talking. He would turn around and I already have the tool that he needs for what he's doing right there. Without, like I said, I was with him since 4. Like, going out to jobs with him. I mean, I think it happened one time where he had to do something and my mom had a part-time job. Obviously, I couldn't go to work with her. And he just took me along, and it really wasn't for him to work. He was like following up with something, and a person asked him to do something while he was there, and that's when it started. When I just watching my dad fixing something, and from there on, he just brought me along just because I was just fascinated. Like,
okay,
you can fix that? Like, I don't know. It was just fascinating for me. So just that experience alone, you know, something's gonna stick.
Sure, absolutely. Do it enough, yeah.
Oh, absolutely,
absolutely. But like, so now here goes something like someone gives me a car stereo. I do not have any hesitation taking car apart to put a car stereo together.
Okay.
Like, I won't hesitate to do that because for whatever reason, I'll just go in and I know that I know what I'm doing with that.
Yeah.
But like construction wise goes, like, I just get scared that I'm going to break something because of that confidence. So, I mean, there are some things that I'm confident in doing and then some things that I'm not confident in doing. So it all depends on what the job is.
Yeah. So going back, like one of the original things from the original 10 steps or tips or whatever was blowing the budget. I'm not even sure unless you're like, again, like a flipper or someone who's like, or a contractor, you're very experienced. I have not yet once heard someone who said that they stayed within budget who had a real budget. Yeah. Now there's people who have like endless money and they said, oh yeah, it's still within budget. Yeah. Anyway, anyone within, I'm going to say this, anyone within my realm of, you know, friends or relatives, or whatever, they always blew the budget, and it's not on purpose. It's not, or some things happen, or errors happen. Yeah. You know, you puncture through a water line that you weren't supposed to, or you cut the electric.
That would cause a massive $500
for that,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff you can mess up on.
I don't think I've ever been in budget. I mean, our budget is when we're done. This is what we spent. Oh, that was a good budget.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, I mean, we always had like a relative, like
a roundabout.
We have to stay within this.
Yeah.
And now I'm very strict within. We have to stay. But like I said, like our first time, like we didn't know what was going to cost what. Yeah. Actually, it was better that we went in on that because honestly, a lot of the stuff that we hadn't done in the last 5 years is because of hesitation. Because I know what it could have potentially cost.
Sure.
But when we first started, it was out of ignorance. Like, we didn't even know any better. Like, yeah, we're going to redo both bathrooms. Like, if you said that to me now, I was like, you're an idiot. Like, seriously, like, just relax. Do one. You can do one. Then later on, just
do the other one.
Yeah. But no, I want to do everything. I didn't know any better. You know, you just get in, you're motivated, you're excited. You just want to knock it all out. And honestly, we were, like, it was fair game to have a baby. So that was also in the back of my mind. I'm like, we're not. I know this is not going to happen if we don't do it now.
Yeah,
and that was on the back of my mind.
But when you bought, you also had a place to stay where you weren't being rushed to. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't no time limit for you to move into your house. So you had that.
There was. I said I was going to be out by December.
Well, that was self. There wasn't.
Yeah, but
anything.
It was still like with a deal with my parents.
Okay.
It wasn't real. It wasn't like, I just made it in my head. That was a sit-down dinner, a discussion that was had. Not gonna be married and hanging out with mom and pops. Their thing was without a plan.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm finishing off the year at you guys' house, 2012, December 31st, and in January we'll be out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was the thing, and they said, fine. And that was the end of that.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately with me, it was like I bought the house. Literally, our time was up at the apartment within 3 days.
Yeah.
So I had to, get the ball rolling and
Yeah.
start doing things. And that's why, like, where he was able to, nobody was living in the house, and it was basically like an open canvas. It's a plain canvas, and you do what you got to do and what you want to do at the time, because now is the time to do it. You're not moved in.
Yeah.
Whereas me, I had to get the stuff done and then bring the family in and then continue to work on in the house while everyone's in the house. So that's, I mean, if I were to do it all over again, I would definitely do the steps that he did as far as getting a house and not having to rush to move into it right away, like within a week. You know what I mean? Like not renovate, but refresh. Like if you had to paint the walls, get new carpet or whatever, definitely do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's situational and it depends on, where you're at. But if you did have a choice, yeah, I would say like if somewhere between, 2 weeks and a month or 3 weeks and a month.
Yeah.
Because here's the other thing. Like if you give yourself too much time, then there's too much like thinking, too many, whatever.
Right.
So it's like guessing everything.
Yeah, and this is where I am. Like, get the foundation done,
Yeah.
like the necessities, right? And then you can pontificate on whatever else
whatever.
you
Yeah.
want. You know what I'm
Upgrades
saying?
and changes.
Because
and
then
all that.
and then you can do it without the pressure,
Sure.
and then you could really get everything that you want. Now
But that goes back to like what you say, like you get a feel for how it actually living in the
Exactly.
space and all that stuff too, and then you
Some
can
stuff, yeah.
then you can probably make changes and all that stuff.
exactly some stuff you think would be good ideas don't even make sense
Sure.
after you start living there, and so on and so forth. The other thing, obviously, the whole thing also depends on what your budget is.
Yeah.
If you have $5,000 to spend on when you just first buy a house that needs like a complete redo, you're gonna focus on certain rooms.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And that's just a smart thing to do. You're probably only gonna do half of a bathroom or whatever you can, replace a sink
Right.
or replace a tub.
Sure.
You're
The
going to
most
use your
important thing,
you're going to
fix-
use
yeah,
your
fix
money
the minor
intelligently.
things.
But like if you have a bigger budget, of course, and of course money talks. You can hire anyone under the sun. You can take 3 or 5 weeks and completely redo a house to utmost quality and all that. It's very possible. But realistically, for the average person, it's just not the case. Anyway, for the people that I know, it's just like they did what we did basically. You just do what you can for the time being without it being, oh, here we go on. Actually, I do know somebody who it was like an endless renovation, and then just didn't move in. Like 3-4 months later, they still didn't move in. They also again had the luxury of not there. Obviously, there was no rush to move in. No, but by the time they moved in, everything changed again.
Yeah.
They wanted a bigger house, and it was just like
For sure. At that point, you're like
within a year, literally within
Yeah.
a year, and it was just like,
what in the world?
yeah. But anyway, like I said, there's a bunch of stuff that you can learn out of like weekend warrior jobs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And if you and if that's a good way to start, or I'm telling you, there's no waste in your time to help someone do a weekend warrior job, because whatever actually it might be even better, because whatever gets messed up, that's gonna get messed up in their house. You know what I'm saying? So then you have the experience, like, all right, I know I'm not gonna do that when I do it to my house.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. That's where you get your experience.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Even if obviously you can have a desk job, you can have, but this other stuff would never do you wrong. Like it's
Yeah.
only going to serve you in the future,
Right.
no matter
It's
what.
the experience of it.
Absolutely. Or if something goes wrong, you're like, oh, you know what? I kind of remember how to pop on a sink or turn the water off and take the toilet out and fix something. You know what I mean? Like it's just like a lot of little stuff that you pick up. And like I said, just for the experience alone, sometimes it can be a super big headache, but I don't know. I think it's an investment in your time, regardless of whether it's super easy or super hard.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a learning experience either way.
Exactly. So one of the last questions is, do you remember a time when your parents did a home renovation and you were a kid?
Yeah, multiple.
Yeah, that was normal.
That was to us. That was normal. It was always. I mean, sheesh. I remember them just replacing windows. I remember them putting vinyl siding up. I remember them fixing the upstairs bathroom, renovating that. I remember where Pop tried to move the stairs in the middle of the house, like from the middle of the house to the side. It wouldn't work because of the way the structure of the house was. I've seen lots of stuff. Seen the kitchen get renovated like multiple times, like crazy. So I mean, growing up, we've seen a lot of stuff go on.
Yeah, our parents did the same thing. They bought a fixer-upper. Literally, the house didn't even have floors.
Big time. You literally look for what from the living room to the kitchen? What is it? You can see right through.
Yeah, it was insane. So my dad, I mean, they got a bargain on a house and dumped in what they could into the house to make it livable. And then as we were living there, my dad was it was a nonstop project. The biggest one was the kitchen. I mean, that was like, woo.
Well, yeah, because they did lots of stuff to it. Like,
yeah.
There was this huge window. It's probably the size of, so there's that's like 40, 36, yeah, 36 inches. So this window had to have been at least 50 inches wide, 50 inches square. It was a square, I'm going to say, give or take. Wow. And it was just a piece of glass. It didn't open. It didn't nothing.
It wasn't a window. It was just a piece
of glass. And my mom was like, what in the world? Like, why in the world is this thing here?
Oh, that was already there.
That was already there. So they lived with it there for so many years. And then finally, when they did the vinyl siding outside, they just
closed it
all up and put a window in there.
Like a little window.
Yeah, a small. Like, actually, the window actually cranked open that my mom could, like, get fresh air.
It was actually functional window.
Functional window, yes, absolutely.
Not just a window pane in the middle of a wall.
No, yeah,
so much ridiculousness. But you're talking about a house that was built in like 1915.
Yeah.
So there's like you know what I mean? Like we're talking.
I'm sure there was a different aesthetic in general of how they built the houses and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Super
crazy.
So
what you're working with is, you know, totally different. Which there's a lot to say about that. We're renovating, you know, relatively a house that's under 50 years old versus a house that's between 50 and 100 years old and beyond.
Yeah. Because I remember like when I guess I was a teenager, it's like it was like a forced renovation because like we had a thing where, I guess we always had random like leaks from because our bathroom was above the kitchen. So we had random leaks. It was like I don't know if it was like drop ceiling or whatever. It had like those weird like
tiles up in the ceiling.
Not tiles, but it had I don't know if it was paneling, but it had like that weird like bubble.
Thing. Popcorn ceiling.
Yeah, they had like a type of thing underneath, like
crumbs on the ceiling. Yeah, popcorn.
So whoever did, or it was like some kind of textured ceiling, whatever the case may be. But there was one time we always had random leaks, whatever, and it was got to fix, blah blah. There was one time it like wouldn't stop, and we figured it was like tub or something because like the tub and the sink or whatever all above. It wound up being. I guess because we did somewhere replace a toilet at some point, and it wasn't done properly. Apparently, we didn't realize it, and then slowly it was like there was a leak, whatever, blah, blah. And one time it got really bad, and then we got somebody to come in and check that, and it wound up being that they said that if we didn't call them any like soon or whatever, the toilet would eventually went right into the kitchen.
Holy smokes!
Because it like the wood because they how they placed the toilet was directly on the wood, whatever, like the floor of it. So that was eventually like some of it was seeping through, and like it totally messed up like the bathroom floor, like the wood underneath there. Yeah. So that had to be completely replaced, along with obviously that's the kitchen ceiling too. Plus we didn't have the greatest thing. We had done some minor stuff years ago and just never quite finished it. So it was partially undone anyway. So too, because we had like a fixture that was kind of like hanging there, or whatever. So it was functional, but it wasn't the greatest aesthetically, whatever too. So we wanted having to do like two renovations at the same time. We need to do some of the bathroom stuff anyway too. So we kind of replaced the whole floor of the bathroom plus the ceiling in the kitchen, and they made a better fixture and everything and stuff. So they kind of it was a forced double renovation, sort of like two things at the same time. So it kind of worked out that way. But during that time, since it was like I don't know, like 2 weeks worth of work, whatever it was. We wanted to have them like stay in a hotel for like that time period. I think I was in school, whatever it was, so we had to like travel that way or another. But
oh man, yeah, that definitely put you guys out of commission. You only had one bathroom in the house.
Yeah, so we had no choice but to stay somewhere else. Yeah.
Wow.
Plus, because that put two rooms out of it, our cooking and our showers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's like
cooking and cleaning,
the double whammy. But yeah, that's going back to like the older houses. My parents' house, that house in Bristol was built in 1901.
Oh, no, I'll say I was
1901.
Yeah,
I don't know when our older house, but it's an old row home, so in North Philadelphia. So so
that's
whatever house, I'm sure that's been
early
there
1900s or whatever.
So probably same idea, same time frame.
Yeah, right here, year built 1901. So, I mean, yeah, you're working with, when you're doing a renovation, you're literally working with a 100-year-old house.
Yeah.
And there was no, what do you call that? It's like built to code.
Yeah.
So not everything they did, or whatever their code was, is if they had one,
It's
is
totally
totally different than what
sure,
it is
absolutely,
now.
Decades later.
So
of
what
course.
you're working with, I mean, they literally built houses on dirt.
Yeah.
With
Because even like
necessarily have a quote foundation.
Because even like not too far from the neighborhood I grew up in, there was a whole neighborhood that I think my mom actually might have grown up around there, or I'm not sure. I forget what it is. Or they grew up like a block away from there. That those houses don't exist anymore because it was built on some kind of like water or something happened there where the houses were eventually sinking.
Wow.
So they had to eventually demolish that entire few neighborhoods. As if you ever go there, the very bottom of the boulevard first before it turns into like the expressway, there used to be houses all over there.
So what is it now? It's just open?
It's just like grass. So it's like, because no houses can stay in there anymore, but there's still just like fields or whatever it is. You see like random like remnants of like, I guess what might have been like stairs and stuff like that, like the foundations. But other than that, there's like the actual houses themselves are completely gone.
So you mean like 40, 50 years ago there was houses there?
Yeah. There was a whole neighborhood, like it probably row homes and everything there too, but they're completely gone now.
That's crazy.
So underneath it was water, like
So
a stream?
whatever they built it on was
A body
terrible
of water?
foundation. Yeah, because
Okay.
I mean it's getting towards Delaware River and all that stuff anyway too. But I mean, it's whatever it was, I guess, or there was something underneath. I forget what the exact situation was, but whatever it was, that the houses, like especially row homes, there was like 20 houses in a row and all that stuff too. So it was like,
Yeah.
I guess it couldn't handle that foundation of all that and whatever
That's
it was.
what. It's probably like a canal. That's what the elementary school is built on top of that. That's why they moved the location of it.
Yeah. The canal. That is true.
It's crazy. Yeah. And lastly, are home renovations something you do just for personal residences? Or are you open to renovating homes and flipping them?
I'm open for all of it.
Yeah.
I'm down to help someone flip their money or flip my money if I invest in it, or I'm down to help out, make something happen. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm definitely all for it. I think it's one of those things though with like flipping. For me, I would first partner with somebody, or at least have a lot of consulting with someone who's with experience.
Sure.
Right.
Who's already
Absolutely.
done it before.
I was gonna say, like, I don't have no experience to like personally think I'm gonna go and flip something.
Yeah, exactly. Because with these TV shows, you get very motivated. It's very inspiring.
They make it
looks
seem
good.
easy.
Yeah, some of them do make it seem a little hard, but it's still TV. It's like almost like, what is the actual reality
Yeah.
of all
What's
this
behind it?
And
Yeah,
then I
there's-
feel like on top of that, some people, they have the financial backing to make up
That's-
to fill those voids.
That's
Whereas
key.
like if I'm trying to do something, funds are limited, so you got to be very smart at what you're doing. So if you're going to work smarter, not harder, you would definitely want to get the consultation of someone who's experienced, or doing a flip in a partnership with someone.
Yeah.
So then you could kind of see all the steps that it takes and all, like the real deal.
Yeah.
Because
And
even
splitting
some of like
profits or
those TV shows seems like they're going like almost like one of the things like going like the low quality route, and like
True.
whereas like it's all aesthetics. It's like, oh, it makes it look nice, but everything underneath is horrible foundation or
Garbage.
quality of everything.
Yeah. Now, for me, I'm all about saving where I can.
Yeah.
But I'm not compromising the quality of the work.
Sure.
So the quality of work is there. Is where I kind of go back. Is like, yeah, I'm not gonna buy like the most expensive necessarily,
Sure.
sink or bathtub for my first flip. I might just be like kind of keep it at a minimum, see
Sure.
where you're at.
Right, yeah.
Because obviously in the end, buying luxury stuff, you can profit off of if it's done the proper way,
Sure.
and in the right area for the right buyer. All that makes sense. I'm not necessarily sure if that's something I would do on my first flip per
not
se. So yeah, I think it's more of like it's a conscious move, because some people do spend a lot of money on certain things. Like we see it all the time on some of these shows where they're dumping $150,000 into a house that they
Yeah.
just bought for $500,000, but then they sell it for whatever.
Yeah.
But
that's
that-
insane.
Yeah, so that level, because you're going for that. There's a buyer there.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right, so there you have it,
Go for
folks. Renovation. We like to close things up with quotes, and the first one is by Shannon Fritcher. She states, "There's always room for improvement." That's very true, as in our homes and in ourselves as well. And the second one is by Wally Lamb. With destruction comes renovation. Again, that can go through your personal life or physically, some home renovations or business renovations.
Both things can apply to that. So
Both of them.
So renovation. In this episode, the crew talks about their experience with everything renovation. We cover topics that range from home improvements, DIY projects, tool rental, hiring a general contractor, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Shannon Fritcher and Wally Lamb. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyLeeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyLeeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.